And here in Minnesota, a day of voting starts at 7 a.m., but officials say citizens have been getting their ballots in early with early voting and doing so in droves.
Wait times varied around the metro today, but some of those lines were very long. Fox 9's Rob Olson joining us live from Eagan tonight. So, Rob, you stopped at a few early voting locations today. What kind of turnout are they seeing?
Well, they're seeing a pretty remarkable turnout here. You know, a lot of places, city halls that host the early voting, many of them closing at 4:30. Eagan here closing now at 5 o'clock. But they told me that those who are in line, much like on voting day itself tomorrow, those in line when they close, they'll still handle all of them. But yes, over the last few days, the numbers have really kept going up and up, and surprising the folks here that host early voting, how popular it's become.
About an hour and a half. Yeah. I took a selfie at 10:48. I just checked as I was walking out because I was like, when did I get here?
The line at Eagan City Hall stretched down the sidewalk.
It's great, but I was thinking it'd be shorter.
And the hopes that voting early might bring a shorter line, not necessarily working out that way on the day before the election. But the wait still bringing a sense of relief.
Just to be done.
Better get it over with, you know?
You're happy to have it behind you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
At Bloomington City Hall, we heard the same sentiments in a similarly stretching line going through the lobby.
You said you counted how many are in front of you.
I had 107 ahead of me when I got in line.
And you had time to count them.
Yeah, there was nothing else to do, so I might as well count.
Yeah, it's been busy.
The city clerk here telling me about 500 to 600 people voted per day last week. That went up to more than 1,000 a day over the weekend, and now expecting at least 1,400 more on this Monday.
I think people are worried about waiting in lines on Election Day, and so they feel their better option is to come here.
This would tell me lines will be shorter on Election Day.
That's my impression as well, yes.
And both Bloomington and Eagan telling me the same astonishing pace for early voting, a 41% voter turnout through Sunday in both cities. Minnesota as a whole is now at close to 1.2 million early ballots already received, about a 32% early voter turnout statewide.
I have a day off today, so I didn't want to screw up tomorrow, so I might as well stand in line here.
The reasons to stand in line early were varied. The reason to vote at all is not.
A lot of people have a lot of opinions, and there's only so many ways we can actually make a difference. Shouting on social media is not the same as showing up in person.
Now, one more note from the city clerk over in Bloomington. She said so far of those early votes that they've received, about 75% of them have been in person, people coming in and now standing in line, 25% voting by mail. But again, they're very surprised at how popular it's become. And I would say based on, when you're looking at a 41% voter turnout with early voting, that's approaching almost half of the voter turnout in those cities, which is around 90% or so. You could expect potentially the lines tomorrow will not be what you've seen in the past. Live in Eagan, Rob Olson, Fox 9.
All right, thank you, Rob. Meantime, Donald Trump has been rolling through battleground states today. In a stop in North Carolina, the former president announced a new policy, a new tariff on all Mexican products coming into the U.S. The former president says he'll enact that if Mexico's president does not stop the flow of migrants crossing the southern border. He's also made 2 stops in Pennsylvania.
We're just one day away from what will be the most important political event in the history of our country. But you have to get out. We have to vote. Just show up and vote.
Former President Trump will travel back to Florida later this evening after a final campaign event in Michigan. Both Trump and Harris have paid close attention to Pennsylvania in this race, and we'll have a live report from that crucial swing state at 5:30 tonight.
Well, 14 hours from now, polling places across Minnesota will open up for voting in the 2024 general election.
And Minnesota's governor is making the closing argument for his vice presidential candidacy. Fox 9's Corin Hoggard is in D.C., and that is where the Harris-Walz campaign will end, one way or another. And Corin, it will be a unique election night party tomorrow night.
Yeah, absolutely, Kelsey. We're on the campus of Howard University here, and you can see they're already setting up barriers for the security here. This, of course, is Vice President Harris's alma mater, and tomorrow it'll be the first college campus to hold a presidential election night party. Of course, Governor Walz has a lot of miles to cover before he gets here. Dozens of Minnesota Democrats lined up on the MSP tarmac for the final campaign send-off for the Walz family. The governor, his wife Gwen, and their daughter Hope embraced the people they credit with putting him in this position. The VP candidate had stops in Wisconsin and Michigan Monday, teaming up with musicians like John Bon Jovi. His election day will focus on Pennsylvania before he makes his way to Washington, D.C. for an election night party he hopes is about 2 miles away from his next job. And the campus here at Howard is in transition today. Other than these barriers that are getting set up for the security perimeter, there's also no classes here tomorrow. That perimeter is being set up by the police and the Secret Service, and it keeps expanding on us as this day goes by. Of course, we'll be inside that perimeter tomorrow, tracking just how the governor's last day on the campaign trail ends up. For now, we're live in Washington, D.C. Corin Hoggard, Fox 9.
All right, thanks, Corin. And we do have you covered for Election Day and Election Night. We'll begin our continuous coverage on Fox Local starting at 3 p.m. And then we go on Fox 9 at 5 with our news and stay on through the rest of the evening. So join us on air and online tomorrow. We are your station for election results. Making